If she stole from you, why did she pay taxes on this home in her own name, with her own bank account, before you even knew she bought it? The judge's question hung in the air like a death sentence. My parents, who had just spent an hour painting me as a manipulative thief in front of a packed courtroom, suddenly couldn't find words. The silence that followed was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. They thought they could steal my success through shame and lies. They were dead wrong. If you've ever been underestimated by the people who should have supported you most, smash that subscribe button right now. Hit like if you believe some people deserve to have their lies exposed in the most public way possible. This is a story about what happens when entitled parents try to steal their daughter's hard-earned success and get absolutely destroyed by a judge who saw right through their manipulation. Let's dive into this courtroom revenge. Let me paint you a picture of what led to this moment. I'm Maya, and at 27, I had finally done something I'd dreamed of for years. I bought my first house. Nothing extravagant, nothing flashy. Just a modest 3-bedroom home in the suburbs, painted soft gray with a beautiful fig tree out front. But to me, it represented everything. This wasn't just any house purchase. This was the culmination of years of grinding, saving every penny, and proving everyone wrong. While my friends were out partying, I was working double shifts and putting money away. While my parents constantly reminded me that I was wasting my time with my little job, I was building something they couldn't see or understand. You see, my parents had a very clear vision of how their children should turn out. There was Brian, my older brother, who was everything they wanted in a son. The golden child. The one who could do no wrong. And then there was me, the disappointment, the one who chose the wrong career path, the daughter who didn't fit their perfect family image. Brian had dropped out of college twice, burned through 3 different cars that my parents bought him, and at 29, he was still living in their basement playing video games and complaining about how the world owed him something. But somehow, in their eyes, he was still the success story waiting to happen. Meanwhile, I was grinding every single day. I had what they dismissively called my little job, which was actually a solid career in digital marketing that I'd built from the ground up. I'd started as an intern, worked my way up, learned every aspect of the business, and eventually became a senior account manager with a steady, respectable income. But because it wasn't the traditional career path they'd envisioned for me, because I didn't have a fancy title or work in a glass office building, they treated my success like it was some kind of hobby. Every family gathering, every phone call, every conversation somehow circled back to how I was wasting my potential and should find something more stable. The day I got the keys to my house was one of the proudest moments of my life. I remember standing in that empty living room, sunlight streaming through the windows, and feeling something I'd never felt before: complete ownership. Not just of the house, but of my life, my choices, my success. I called my parents that evening, genuinely excited to share the news. I thought maybe, just maybe, this tangible proof of my success might make them see that I'd actually done something right. Mom, Dad, I have amazing news. I bought a house. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. You bought a house? My mother finally asked, her voice flat. Yes. It's perfect. 3 bedrooms, beautiful neighborhood, and I got a great deal. I can't wait for you to see it. What followed was not congratulations or excitement. It was an interrogation. How did you afford a house? What did you do? Did you get some kind of loan? Who helped you? The questions came rapid fire, each one carrying an undertone of disbelief. Not disbelief that I could accomplish something, but disbelief that I could accomplish something without their help or approval. I saved for it, Mom. I've been working and saving for years. I did this myself. Well, my father's voice cut in, we'll have to see about that. I should have known something was wrong from that comment. But I was so high on my own success, so proud of what I'd accomplished, that I didn't hear the threat buried in his words. 3 weeks later, I was in my new kitchen, arranging dishes in the cabinets, when the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find my parents standing on my porch, Mom in her fake pearls that she wore whenever she wanted to look important, Dad with that same condescending smirk I'd seen my entire life. Maya, honey, we need to talk, my mother said, pushing past me into my house. I offered them coffee, thinking maybe they'd finally come to see what I'd accomplished. Instead, my father pulled out a manila envelope and handed it to me. "What's this?" I asked, genuinely confused. "Court papers," he said, that smirk growing wider. "We're suing you." I literally laughed out loud. "Suing me? For what?" "For theft," my mother said, her voice dripping with fake sadness. "We know you used our money to buy this house. We know you took advantage of our love and trust." The room started spinning. "Are you insane? I didn't take a penny from you. I bought this house with my own money, from my own job, with my own savings." "That's not what we believe," my father said. "And it's not what Brian believes either. This house was meant for him. You knew that. You stole his future." "Brian's future?" "Brian is 29 years old living in your basement." "Don't you dare speak about your brother that way," my mother snapped. "At least he doesn't lie and steal from family." I stared at these people, my own parents, and realized I was looking at strangers. Strangers who were so threatened by my success, so unable to accept that I'd accomplished something without them, that they were willing to destroy me rather than admit they'd been wrong about me. "Get out," I said quietly. "We'll see you in court," my father replied, and they left. The next few weeks were a nightmare. I had to hire a lawyer, which cost money I didn't have budgeted. I had to gather financial documents, bank statements, tax returns, everything to prove that I'd legitimately bought my own house with my own money. But the worst part wasn't the legal hassle. It was the humiliation. My parents were telling everyone, neighbors, extended family, friends, that I was a thief. That I'd stolen from them. That I was a manipulative daughter who'd betrayed her family's trust. Some people believed them. Some people actually looked at me with suspicion, wondering if maybe there was some truth to their accusations. The doubt in their eyes was crushing. My lawyer, thankfully, was amazing. Sarachan was a sharp, no-nonsense woman who took one look at my case and shook her head in disgust. "This is one of the most frivolous lawsuits I've ever seen," she told me. "They have no evidence because there is no evidence. But they're banking on you caving to the pressure, settling out of court, maybe giving them some money just to make it go away." "That's not happening," I said. "Good," she replied. "Because we're going to destroy them." The day of the court hearing arrived. I dressed professionally, conservatively, wanting to present the best possible image. I walked into that courtroom with my head held high, my financial documents organized, and my conscience clear. My parents sat on the other side of the courtroom with their lawyer, some sleazy-looking guy who probably specialized in nuisance lawsuits. Brian was there too, looking uncomfortable in an ill-fitting suit, probably dragged there by my parents. When the proceedings began, their lawyer painted a vivid picture of deception and betrayal. He described me as a manipulative daughter who had taken advantage of my parents' love and trust. He claimed I had access to their accounts, that I had used family money to purchase the house, that I had deceived them about my intentions. He was good at making it sound believable. Even I found myself wondering if maybe someone listening might actually buy this story. Then it was our turn. Sarah stood up and methodically destroyed every single claim they'd made. She presented my tax returns, showing years of steady income from my job. She showed my bank statements, demonstrating the gradual accumulation of savings over time. She presented the mortgage documents, showing that I had qualified for the loan based on my own income and credit score. But the most damaging evidence was what she presented next. "Your Honor," Sarah said, "I'd like to present evidence showing that not only did the plaintiff not provide any money for this house purchase, but they had no knowledge of the purchase until after it was complete." She handed documents to the judge showing that I had been pre-approved for my mortgage 6 months before I even told my parents I was house hunting. She showed that I had been saving for a down payment for over 3 years. She presented evidence that I had never once asked my parents for financial assistance. Furthermore, Sarah continued, I'd like to present evidence of the plaintiff's actual financial situation. This was the part one hadn't expected. Somehow, Sarah had discovered that my parents were not only not in a position to help anyone buy a house, but they were actually in significant debt themselves. Credit cards, loans, a second mortgage on their own home, they were drowning financially. The judge listened to everything with a neutral expression, taking notes, asking occasional questions. When both sides had presented their cases, he sat back and looked directly at my parents. I have to ask, he said, his voice calm but penetrating, if your daughter stole from you to buy this house, why did she pay taxes on this home in her own name, with her own bank account, before you even knew she bought it? The silence that followed was deafening. My mother blinked rapidly, like she didn't understand the question. My father's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. He tried to mutter something about family assets and complicated financial arrangements, but the words crumbled before they could form a coherent sentence. The judge tilted his head, studying them with the expression of someone who had just solved a puzzle. This feels less like theft, he said slowly, and more like resentment that she succeeded without you. The impact of those words was immediate and devastating. My mother's face went completely white. My father's confident smirk finally disappeared, replaced by something that looked like panic. Brian shifted uncomfortably in his seat, probably realizing for the first time that he'd been dragged into something truly shameful. Case dismissed, the judge said firmly. Not only is this lawsuit without merit, but it appears to be a malicious attempt to damage a young woman's reputation and financial stability. I'm ordering the plaintiffs to pay court costs and attorney fees. The gavel came down with a satisfying thud. I sat there for a moment, letting the reality wash over me. It was over. Not only had I won, but I'd won in the most complete way possible. The judge hadn't just dismissed their case, he'd exposed their true motivations in front of a room full of people. As we filed out of the courtroom, I caught my parents' eyes one last time. The shame and humiliation on their faces was something I'd never seen before. They had tried to destroy me, and instead had destroyed themselves. Outside the courthouse, Sarah shook my hand and smiled. I've been practicing law for 15 years, she said, and I've rarely seen a judge call out plaintiffs that directly. He saw right through them. That night, I sat in my kitchen in my house and felt something I'd never experienced before. Complete vindication. Not only had I proven that I'd bought my house legitimately, but I'd exposed my parents' true nature to anyone who might have believed their lies. The aftermath was swift and final. No more phone calls from my parents. No more guilt trips or manipulation attempts. No more fake family dinners where I had to pretend their behavior was normal. Some family members reached out to apologize for believing the lies. Others simply disappeared from my life, probably too embarrassed by their own complicity to face me. Brian, surprisingly, called me a few weeks later. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I knew it was wrong, but they convinced me you were trying to hurt the family. I should have known better. I accepted his apology, but I made it clear that our relationship would never be the same. Now I live in that same little house, but it's more than just a home. It's proof that I owe them nothing. It's evidence that I succeeded not because of their support, but in spite of their attempts to hold me back. The only thing I truly inherited from my parents was the will to survive, and the determination to prove them wrong. Sometimes the best revenge is simply succeeding despite the people who never believed in you. What do you think? Have you ever had family members try to take credit for your success or tear you down when you achieved something they couldn't? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button if you believe some people deserve to have their lies exposed in the most public way possible. Subscribe for more stories of justice served, and share this with anyone who needs to hear that sometimes the best revenge is simply proving them wrong. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.